Say what you will about the current state of horror movies, the weird ones are always the best. You can sing the praises of all the critically acclaimed, public-pleasing, high-art intellectual horror flicks, but when it all comes down to it, horror belongs to the low-budget lunatics. It's not to say that people shouldn't like the thinkers and the classics. The genre is nothing if not diverse and fascinating, but given the choice on a Friday night, would you rather watch a bunch of hilariously over-the-top teens compete for the worst line delivery award while getting their assorted limbs blasted off, and for whatever reason a giant monster appears out of nowhere for one scene? Or a straightforward, self-serious take on familial violence? It's your choice. I won't judge either way. Hello horror heads, and welcome back to the scariest channel on YouTube, Top 5 Scary Videos. I'm your horror host, Keegan Hughes, and today we're going to take a look at the top 5 weirdest horror movies you need to see to believe. I know we've done a weirdest movie series in the past, and you'd best believe I'll try to avoid any repeats. You weirdos deserve a vaster pool of choice. Before we get started, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more oddities and entities. Perfect. Let's get going. Coming in at number 5, we've got Dracula 3D. Dario Argento, the Giallo King, the Italian legend, the man behind such classics such as Suspiria, Profondo Rosso, Phenomena, and more. Known for his insane use of color, music, and plot twists, you'd be hard-pressed to find a director so often cited as inspiration. Argento was prolific throughout the 70s, 80s, and 90s, putting out flick after flick. The quality fluctuated, sure, but there was always something to take away from each. His production levels sort of dropped in the 2000s, but he still managed to keep directing with a similar level of competence and style. Then, 2012 came around. I would love to read up on the circumstances surrounding him taking on this endeavor, but I feel like he was totally not on board for Dracula 3D. I can't speak for him though, so it's all speculation. What isn't speculation though is just how odd this movie is. Dracula 3D is a retelling of the legend of Count Dracula. In this movie, Dracula owns a castle above a small village at the foot of the Carpathian Mountains. He somehow found out that a villager's distant friend looks exactly like his dead lover and lures her and her husband to town with the promise of employment. Pretty standard vampire fare, I must say. Things start to go wrong, and the visitors soon realize that the village is under the thumb of the mysterious supernatural count. But the story itself doesn't matter. No, it's all about the presentation. You see, this is Dracula 3D, so of course we need all sorts of things flying out at the screen at all times. Sometimes it's a bat, sometimes a wolf. There's one scene where a gigantic praying mantis crawls up these stairs before disemboweling a man, and it's never mentioned again. There's lots of bugs that are just added in post, and it's very interesting looking. It even tries very hard to be erotic without actually employing any sort of sexiness beyond random nudity. And there's a lot of nudity in this movie, with a fair deal of it focusing on Argento's daughter. Kind of a strange father-daughter relationship in this one. Oh, and did I mention that the Rutger Hauer plays a feeble old Van Helsing? Yeah, this is a very odd little vampire flick. Coming in at number 4, we've got Hell House 2, The Abaddon Hotel. Now, this is a perplexing movie. Hell House LLC was an effective, if not overstuffed, found footage flick with a bunch of good scares. Hell House 3, The Lake of Fire, was a more fully realized look at the universe that these movies take place in. So what the hell happened during Hell House 2? If you're familiar with Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, you can kind of draw a line between the two. The second Hell House concerns a news team that wants to investigate the happenings from the first movie. There's a guy who lost his colleague to the house, an incorrigible investigative reporter, and 2 more weirdos that are just kind of there to up the body count. It wouldn't be too hard to make a movie that just continued where the first one left off, but director Stephen Cognetti and company decided to take it 5 steps further, and on a much lower budget too, apparently. The result is one crazy mishmash of footage from the original, bad green screening, hilariously rough fake live streaming, home movie universe building, and some really bad acting. It's extremely hard to take seriously at any point, with flashbacks occurring at random and some truly ludicrous pacing. I mentioned bad green screening earlier, and I can't let it go. The movie is framed by a television interview with the host discussing the hotel with 3 guests: the owner of the property, a cameraman from the first movie, and a slick-talking, ghost-hunting mentalist. The dialogue here is like something out of a high school presentation, and all the characters look like they're just floating in the air. It's actually kind of endearing how bad it gets. There are so many different pieces that don't totally fit together and some really ham-fisted world building. It stands out from its prequel and sequel because it really doesn't seem to know what it's trying to do. That being said, I could watch it like 5 times and still be entertained. Coming in at number 3, we've got Don't Look Now. A bit of a jump between 4 and 3 here. Don't Look Now is a slow, meditative, atmospheric horror that never explicitly gets scary. Well, maybe not until the last scene at least. The whole movie feels a bit like a foggy dream with unexplainable oddities strewn throughout. paranoia abound, we follow a grieving couple through the back streets of Venice as they attempt to repair old churches, as well as their souls after the loss of their daughter. Apprehension and paranoia are the main sources of fear here. The fact that there's a serial killer running around in Venice seems almost inconsequential. Red can be seen everywhere, on the coat of the couple's dead daughter, on scarves of passers-by, on storefronts meant to stand out. But what does any of it mean? I suppose that's for the viewer to find out. It's never very heavy-handed. In fact, it's almost like Don't Look Now wants you to draw your own conclusions. Does John have future sight? What does that mean for him? Why does he cling so desperately to the world of logic and intellect? What does Laura see in those two strange women? Why is she running all over town when she's supposed to be with her son? Is any of this really happening? Who is the person in the red coat? Don't Look Now is also home to one of the most talked about sex scenes in cinema. It's less shocking now than it was at release, but it is a vivid and real look at a grieving, preoccupied couple making love after experiencing trauma. This isn't what most people expect when watching a horror movie, but it's worth a watch for sure. Weird doesn't even begin to describe Don't Look Now. Coming in at number 2, Color Me Blood Red. Alright, let's get back to the weird. Anyone familiar with Herschel Gordon Lewis will know that his general approach to filmmaking is more blood, more death. That is when he's not making the controversial nudie cuties he was also famous for. Blood and death in movies are awesome, and Color Me Blood Red is no exception. We meet the struggling artist, Adam Sorg, as he tries to paint his next paycheck. The gallery he usually sells through is not too happy with his recent work, so he's looking for inspiration. After wrecking a couple canvases and yelling at his girlfriend, he discovers that blood is the best paint. The reds are vivid, and the visceral thrill of painting with human life force is giving him a second wind. At first, he uses his own blood, resulting in a lot of passing out and acting like an idiot. Soon, he's just straight up murdering people for art supplies. He jousts a young man while piloting a motorboat. He stabs a young woman in the face. He ties a girl to the rafters and sneaks up on her with a fire axe, all because he wants to paint with their blood. This weirdness extends far beyond the concept, though. There's an absolutely frenetic jazz soundtrack for starters. Add in a group of ridiculous opera-length cigarette holder touting art critics and you're getting there. There's a couple named Jack and Sydney who dress in matching costumes wherever they go and speak in the most ridiculous 60s slang imaginable, who provide what can only generously be called comic relief. And of course, there's the art itself. I'm no connoisseur, but the pieces Mr. Sorg paints are nothing short of ridiculous. This is the kind of stuff Velvet Buzzsaw wished it came up with, instead of using schlocky commentary on pop art. And finally, at number 1, we've got Multiple Maniacs. John Waters and Weird go together like Lady Divine and Fabulousness, like ice cream and liquor, like blood and the big screen. A perfect match. Multiple Maniacs is a masterclass in perversion. Hell, it opens with the cavalcade of perversion holding a bunch of suburbanites at gunpoint after subjecting them to a puke eater. It only gets stranger and more disagreeable from there. Glue sniffers, church-going prostitutes, mustachioed adulterers, serial murder, lobster assault, and one of the best visual gags involving a terrified mob of all time. Multiple Maniacs truly needs to be seen to believe. Whatever you expect going in, you're not ready. Funnily enough, Waters was inspired to make this movie after seeing the Herschel Gordon Lewis flick 2000 Maniacs, which is also very weird. There's a bonus entry for you. Nothing like a mega weird movie marathon, am I right? Did I scratch the strange itch in your brain with these 5? Can you name anything weirder? Please do. Put it all down in the comments. Speaking of comments, let's take a look at some of your more buttery ones from the top 5 scary Wendigo sightings. Sage Pilgrim says, more. There's more to this lore. Give us more, child. I thought you were gonna keep rhyming there for a second. Wade Wilson says, can't wait for Antlers to get a new release date. Frowny face. All in due time, my sweet. We will acquire that mystical mountain monstrousness. Ordinary Nerd says, you're the sole reason why I stay up at night. I'm also the sole reason that I stay up at night. That and 4 coffees in the afternoon. Dankenstein says, tiny moving parts though. This guy knows what it means to get high off the vibe of a fist fight. Jeffro56 says, the picture in the background really creeps me out. An old man in his underwear. Hey, come on now, he's middle-aged at best. And that's all the time we have for today. Before I hire an assassin to take out my guitar-playing ninja rival, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe for more humorous horror. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.